episode. A lot of times I don't make episodes if I'm too busy, or, I always have the willingness to want to record. Most of the time. Anyways, unless I'm like I said, if I'm mad sometimes, I still feel like I want to record, but I don't, because, I'm mad. It's going to come out bad. But, I always want to record regardless. So, I haven't had any issues preventing me from recording. Besides, unless I'm in a bad mood or whatever, I'm just too busy. So those are the only things that really stop me from recording. And then I say that, and then my fucking computer that I was using for my podcast and saving all my stuff just craps out. So I was able to save my information. Because I know a little bit about, the hardware and being able to take the hard drive off. And I have something I can connect it to, which allowed me to get the information off of it. So that's all good. But, to never be used again is my computer for podcasting. So if you notice I'm not making many podcasts, that might be why. I tested one today. It was just literally playing my video into the microphone of a headset to kind of make it not sound so shitty, and it sounded pretty shitty. I just listened to some of it and it was like, man. I mean, if someone turns it low enough, it's not so bad, but it's just, I don't think I'll be keeping it on there very long. Ideally, it didn't sound good, so my apologies for that. And if you haven't watched it and you're seeing this, well, once again, it's already videos. If you're watching YouTube, you don't really need to look at the podcast. Very seldom, rarely do I put episodes on the podcast. That being said, all my beginning episodes that are on YouTube, on my podcast, they're on YouTube through the podcast. There's no video though there, so it's like all the information I have in the beginning that I came up with when I was recording my voice on the podcast, that's all original to the podcast. And I think it's worth checking out. I think it's very good information. Obviously, I came up with it. I'm revisiting a lot of the ideas and expanding on them now, as you would. But, that's what I do. I'm here to teach ceremonial magic and witchcraft and how you combine the two together to have a successful practice, have a successful life, have a healthy life, have money coming in, have partners, mates, keep them satisfied when you do have them, and, do magic and try to, I can't teach you how to become enlightened, I guess, but this is the path to enlightenment, as far as I can tell, and I guess it depends on your definition of enlightenment, but, what I'm trying to do is just enjoy my life. And it's hard to enjoy your life whenever you're thinking that everybody's out to get you and shit like that, like the government. So once you can get away from that kind of crap, then you're good to go. All that being said, I'm about to start looking into all that information that I was asked to look into from one of my, I guess, subscribers and or watchers, not followers, but one of the people that watch me, one of the viewers, and I really appreciate them giving me the input and all the very nice comments I was given. So, to show my appreciation, I'm going to go look into all that, and I'm going to be probably expanding on one of those ideas coming up in this video. So, stay tuned for that shit. Alright. So, I began watching Tony Sawyer? Maybe Sawyer. Because that was one of the names that the person who subscribed to me thinks is chakra removal, and some of the other things he says is bang on. And so I've only watched 2 videos so far. Well, a quarter of one video and a quarter of another video. And there's a lot of things he brings to the table in the chakra removal video that I was watching that I guess you could say makes sense on one level. Because the things he says about negative entities being able to feed off you and all this, that's not inaccurate. It's not inaccurate at all. However, whether the chakra system is real or fake, I can't tell you. I can tell you that I use the chakra system, like I said previously, as above, so below, to use also his words, the Hermetic principles. There's 7 Hermetic principles. There's 7 chakras in your body, just like there's 7 notes, 7 days of the week, blah, blah, blah. 7 is an important number. These things, if they're really swirling little pulls inside of our body, energy centers, who knows? So, he could be accurate about that, absolutely. But they are attached to these very important glands within our body. And you can say, well, that's mainstream science, that's medical, that's bullshit. It's like, no. If you look at Chinese medicine, they use these meridian points. Now, sorry about that. Chinese medicine usually uses more than the 7 meridians. Once again, like I said, if you do the microcosmic orbit just as a beginning tool to get into some of these deeper chi-related techniques, you'll see that there's these meridian points all over your body, and you have to visualize the energy going through them. The point of doing this is to actually protect you. It can't necessarily say it makes your aura stronger, but it does, because whenever you make the energy flow around your body stronger, it creates harmony within your body. It makes your heart probably stronger. I don't know. I can't really tell you exactly how it works, because these things are all metaphysical that you can't really see or know. But what I do know is how you feel after you do these exercises. And to me, whether that's real or fake, it doesn't really matter. If you're visualizing something happen, then you're making it happen. Because as much as we can say this is a video game, it's a holographic reality, it's not real. If you put your hand on the table and you put a knife through it, you're going to have pain. And yeah, okay, it's just a video simulation, and maybe when you die, you just come back as a new person, and that's part of the simulation. Sure, okay, but the people that you leave behind are going to be in pain. You, in the moment when you put that knife through your hand or axe off your finger, you're going to be in pain. That is real. So it's a fake reality to this, in the sense of even when you die, you come back, and I'm all for people not mourning people's deaths. It's part of my beliefs, being a witch. I believe we celebrate death and all of that. But as a human being, brought into our culture where we mourn death, I would still miss someone who I'm close to if I was not able to see them ever again and know that they've passed on. So it doesn't change that pain. You will feel that pain. You can live without positive emotion, but you can't live without negative emotion. And that's the premise of all this stuff, is that if you have this abundance of negative emotion, it's some entity controlling you. And I believe there are negative entities out there in other realms. I believe there is possibilities of all that. And I've seen things, I know things happen. However, I get negative emotions still. I get angry still, all the fucking time. But it isn't no entity controlling me when that happens. I use the chakra system. And I use the planets. I use deities. I don't have no negative entities controlling me. I have protections up. I've created my own entities to protect my person, my entity, me. I've created those things. So and you start thinking, okay, what is spirituality? In what is real within your life. You have to figure out, and now I kind of understand spirituality, and then all of a sudden it's like, whoa, they're also lying within spirituality. Now the chakra system is like, it's like you actually have to ground yourself in what is real within your life. You have to figure out, and now I kind of understand what Thunder Wizard might have been saying, because like I'm always harping against him when he says stuff like, you need to know if you went to the moon or not. You need to have some beliefs. You rather someone have the opposite beliefs than him than have no beliefs. And I don't believe that's completely true, because I believe you can have the opposite belief of somebody, or you can be in the middle. I'm not in the middle on a lot of things that I can't prove. When it comes to shit that I can't prove, I think having an opinion of it really doesn't make a damn bit of difference. Something you can't prove, then what does it matter? You do research into it, whatever, but first, simply should just work on fixing your life, is what you should first simply work on. and use techniques that, a lot of people may be using, people that aren't. And there's a lot of people out there that are just going to tell you stuff that you want to hear, or they're going to send deception in there. Once again, I think there's a lot of power in telling you that things don't work over and over again so that you don't get into it or you don't even bother trying it. But there are simple practices and simple things everybody can do that can start changing their life right now. And to look into things like chakra removal. Like I said, I like the chakra system, so I guess I'm biased. I'll just put that out there, flat out. But because in this video, he doesn't say that chakras are fake. He says there is a real chakra system, and then there's been a fake chakra system overlaid on top of that. And most people are, when they concentrate on those chakras, they allow negative entities come out through it. And once again, it's like the Christians saying that when you look at a sigil, your negative entities are coming out through your mind and through your brain. That's how they access it. And it's just horseshit. That's horseshit. Realizing you have powerful centers within your body will not allow a negative entity come through you. You watching something like this and then thinking that, holy fuck, every time I fucking did something with my heart chakra or my root chakra, I allowed a negative entity in. You've just allowed them into your aura, not into your chakra, into your aura. Here's what I know. Your chakra systems, if they're real, they're part of your body, they're part of your person, they're part of the 7 energies that created you. Negative entities can't feed off of that. They can't do anything with that energy. That is your energy to use. Can you use that energy and then get into fear emotion and then let a negative entity feed off your fear emotion? Absolutely. But you got to think of it differently. Thoughts, the word thoughts, just like the word breath in other older cultures, Latin, Greek, all come from the root word spir, S-P-I-R, which is where we get the word spirit from, spiritus. Okay, that's another word for breath in Latin. Greeks also got the equivalent, and Roman tries to copy it, but it's not quite the same. And then there's French and Italian and other things like that. They're all very similar. So breath and spirit and thoughts. So thoughts and thought forms are closer to spirits. So when you're getting one thought after another thought of negativity, it's not because you have some entity chewing up your fucking emotions and getting you and scaring you to get you to do more emotions, which there is that such thing as a possibility. There are entities that can find you and try to put you in fear. And this is why in the practice that I do. See, this is why it was a long time ago I said people that get into the New Age and the spirituality community that only start doing spirituality and the New Age techniques without knowing the basics of either witchcraft or ceremonial magic, having protection circles up and doing the daily practices, well then bad things can happen, because there are things out there that were either created by people or have always been there, who knows. I can't say for sure. I have the bad feeling that it was all created by man, by human, by us. We can create everything and anything. So I have the bad feeling it's been created by us. And this is why people that are in spirituality are only New Age and don't get into ceremonial magic, witchcraft, shamanism, whatever tradition. Okay, hoodoo, voodoo, santeria, whatever, palo, all these old crafts. If you don't get the basics down, if you don't understand that when you do certain things, you need to set a parameter. Like, that's what the magic circle is. You project a magic circle around you, and that is Saturn's circle, and nobody's gonna fuck with Saturn. That's why those entities that can come to your root chakra that Saturn governs is bullshit. No one's coming into your root chakra and sucking energy out of your root chakra. No one. These energies are within you. Nobody's gonna fuck with that. That's why we project that magic circle, because we are going between the worlds. And when you get between the worlds is when you are susceptible to entities that you can't see. but can do stuff. When you go between the worlds, you're available and open to these entities. If you're not going between the worlds, and going in the astral and meditating and trying to get to the astral plane and trying to astral travel and lucid dream and all these practices, if you're not trying to do any of that, then you got nothing to worry about. All the entities and scary things happening in your life have been being created by your mind by watching these things. So, simple remedy: get yourself a candle, dollar store candle, get a cheap pack of incense, write on it. Saturn if you want, Moon will work too, even Mars, okay? Use one of the darker planets, but Saturn on the Saturday or any day of the week during the hour of Saturn. You can look it up, it's easy, and say, I am grateful for Saturn banishing all the entities and energies, all the harmful entities and energies that sorry, I want to make this right because I don't want anybody to fucking not be able to fix their problems, but I am so grateful for Saturn banishing all the harmful energies and entities that attempted to affect me, that have attempted to enter my aura and feed off my negativity. And I am grateful for having Jupiter to protect me from any future entities. So maybe make 2 candles and write the Saturn one down I just said, and then one for Jupiter protecting you. I will be, so you got to write this on there too as well after that. I will be harm-free, so mote it be. And then sign your name. Put that on the 2 candles. Okay? That's all you got to do. Light them, walk away. Don't have to do ritual, nothing. Every Saturday and every Thursday, light a candle for fucking Saturn and Jupiter. I would do it every day of the week. Do one for every fucking god there is, every day of the week. And you'll stop having that happen. But if you're going to watch stuff that's going to tell you that entities are coming after you, you're going to start to feel like that. But I'm telling you right now, if you're not actually traveling in the astral, if you're not calling anything to you, then it's really unlikely that this is happening through you or to you. Like I said, when you do magic, you realize that you need a magic circle around you to do this stuff. Because you're fucking with forces that have been created a long time ago, or may have been there this whole time that we just don't know about. It's one or the other, and I think they're probably both the same, but that's a different story. But if we have a chakra system, and if they've invented a fake chakra system, the fake chakra system, if it's not a real chakra system, then there's a chance that maybe there's an entity that can suck your energy through that. But if it's a fake chakra system, it wouldn't be able to receive your real energy through it. Therefore, it wouldn't be a good energy source for these demons or these entities. But the thing you should understand is, if you're going to look at this thing, go down this line of thought, if you really want to research this, then do it. But do it correctly. First, find out what negative thoughts and positive thoughts are. Okay? You should really read the book, Outwitting the Devil. And it's free on YouTube to listen to it. And, you don't have to listen to the whole thing, but the part up into the interview with the devil is also really good, because every time he's in a negative state of mind, bad things happen to him. Every time he's in a positive state of mind, good things happen to him. And you can liken that to negative entities, positive entities. Or you can just say like attracts like. When you're having bad thoughts, you're going to keep having more bad thoughts. And when you have good thoughts, you're going to keep having good thoughts. So the important thing to do is become depolarized, so that you can kind of control in between. And so whenever you're in a good thought and it slowly goes to a bad thought, well, it's easier for you to get out of that bad thought back to the good thought. But if you're polarized, once you're negative, you're going to be completely negative. Once you're positive, you're going to be completely positive. And then you're going to get diagnosed with bipolar disease or something, or disorder, or whatever the case is. So, but you need to understand that thoughts are like spirits, and spirits are like thoughts. They are very close to being one and the same. So every time you get a thought in your head, you can think of that as a fucking spirit if you want. That is helpful. That's how I think of it. It's one of the likes spirits. I had a fear of fucking spirits, good or bad. I never wanted to see one in my life. when I got into ceremonial magic and then got into witchcraft, I had to get over that real fast. Because I'm dealing with divinity, I'm dealing with spirits, I'm using these powers and control these powers, not the other way around, but do it correctly. First, find out what negative thoughts and positive thoughts are. Okay, you should really read the book Outwitting the Devil. It's free on YouTube to listen to it. And, you don't have to listen to the whole thing, but the part up into the interview with the devil is also really good, because every time he's in a negative state of mind, bad things happen to him. Every time he's in a positive state of mind, good things happen to him. And you can liken that to negative entities, positive entities. Or you can just say like attracts like. When you're having bad thoughts, you're going to keep having more bad thoughts. And when you have good thoughts, you're going to keep having good thoughts. So the important thing to do is to become depolarized. Is so that you can kind of control in between. And so whenever you're in a good thought and it slowly goes to a bad thought, well, it's easier for you to get out of that bad thought back to the good thought. But if you're polarized, once you're negative, you're going to be completely negative. Once you're positive, you're going to be completely positive. And then you're going to get diagnosed with bipolar disease or something, or disorder, or whatever the case is. So, but you need to understand that thoughts are like spirits, and spirits are like thoughts. They are very close to being one and the same. So every time you get a thought in your head, you can think of that as a fucking spirit if you want. That is helpful. That's how I think of it. One of the ways I stay out of negative thought patterns. Because I never liked negative spirits. I had a fear of fucking spirits, good or bad. I never wanted to see one in my life. When I got into ceremonial magic and then got into witchcraft, I had to get over that real fast. Because I'm dealing with divinity, I'm dealing with spirits, I'm using these powers because we can control these powers, not the other way around. We are in charge of them. We tell them what to do. But until you tell them what to do, then they're going to try to trick you, is another way of looking at it, and I don't think it's completely correct. But yes, there are things out there that say that if there is an entity around you or a demonic force around you, they will appear in monstrous form to try to scare you, because they feed off that energy. And if you can change your polarity and literally talk to them and say, why don't you feel the love? I love you. Come hang out with me. Let's have a talk. I love you. You can banish things with just love. Hell, if you're in love, you have a partner that you love, and you have sex in a room that you think you're being haunted in, you will get rid of that haunting by having passionate, loving sex in that room. Laughter is another form of banishing. I'll actually play a video by Frater after this to try to explain what I'm trying to get to. And I'm not trying to debunk him. I'm not trying to say anything is wrong with this. Like I said in the beginning, I'm already very much, probably, maybe you can even say, polarized against this material. But it's because I know what I know now. I was in these fear states before. And what you're going to notice is, if you ever get out of a fear-based state, if you ever decide to stop looking at fear-based material and just start a program and say, you know what, I'm not going to go around looking for more stuff to see what's wrong with the world and why things are happening bad and why my life sucks. I'm simply going to say, you know what, Corey said to do this, and he put Frater on here, and Frater said to do this book as well, and they both said it changed their life, and they're getting great results from it. Not only that, but Frater Xavier has all these other people with testimonials on here, and he plays the Thunder Wizard from time to time, who has his own program, and people that say they changed their life doing that, and he has Birch on there sometimes, and Birch says these people have changed their life by doing this. So I'm going to pick one of these programs, and I'm going to do it, and I'm going to solely focus on my transformation, and I'm going to transform my life. If you were to do that instead of looking into fear-based stuff, because eventually what you're going to find is when you come out of that and you decide, you know what, I'm going to start talking about it, and maybe I can help people too. And then when you're going to get there, you're going to see that, holy fuck, there's these new fear-based concepts. Because I'm only 3 years deep, and when I started this, I never heard of chakra removal. My fear-based things were the chemtrails, the Illuminati, all these satanic fucking elite groups, lizards versus like Palladians and shit like that, the injections into the kids, their needles or whatever, they're causing autism and all this other shit, 9/11 conspiracies, the bankers conspiracies, the bank, the Federal Reserve, the money shit like that, AI taking over. These are the conspiracies, the main ones I focus on. There's a hell of a lot more than that, but I've never once heard of chakra removal. And it could very much be, because once I hit the spirituality, I never fucking look back. I didn't need to. I was done with that shit. I got what I needed to know from that, and I was able to get out of my fear-based stage. I was able to move up my chakra system. I was able to, my root, pass the test that Saturn gave me for my root chakra. So he opens up my star chakra, my earth star chakra. So there's a connection there. Because Saturn's the ruler of this world. It hasn't always been that way, but right now Saturn's the ruler of this plane. Yet he's an air sign, not even an earth sign. Well, how can that be? Well, that's one of the reasons. As you get past him, the earth star chakra opens up. Now you have a connection to the earth. And you can heal through the earth. You can get energy, and you can use it to your benefit and all this. But if you do these practices, you come to find out that you can control your thoughts. And I don't care what Thunder Wizard says about thoughts. You can't control your thoughts. It's unuseful. You can. Because here's how you do it. Now, it's not controlling them. And this is where the confusion lies, is in the definitions. It's not controlling them as if you get to pick and choose what thoughts are going to come into your mind. But the control lies in when a thought comes to you, like you're always going to be poor, you're useless, you're a piece of shit, blah, 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 blah. I reject that thought and I accept I'm going to be rich, wealthy, and successful. And then that little negative entity or negative spirit, a negative thought that was just there, goes bye-bye. And he'll come back again. You say it again, you're never going to be rich. I banish that thought and accept I'm going to be fucking rich. Goes away. Comes back. But the more you do this, the less he comes back to a point where he stops coming around. And guess what happens when he stops coming around? Thought comes in. Holy fuck, you're going to be really rich one day. I accept that thought. I accept that thought, and I banish that I'm never going to go to poverty again. And that guy stays there. And he keeps telling me, man, you're doing good. You're going to be rich before you know it. Holy fuck, you ever doing good. You're going to be rich before you know it. And you don't have this negative and positive anymore. You have all positives around you. And it just fucking propels you into the spiral up. It's amazing. And I didn't believe it either when Frederick Xavier first said it. And then I read the book. It said in the book, well, that's where he got it. I didn't believe it. It took me a while to just start that practice. Like I said, I was an armchair occultist looking into all these occult things and still looking at fear-based media and just, trying to find excuses to not do anything. And just hope the world died so I wouldn't have to do anything. And then I realized, you know what? All these fear-based things and everything going to shit and everything going bad, it's never going to happen. It's never going to happen. None of these bad things are going to happen. You might get a plague. Some people might die, but people die every year. People always die. If it's not COVID killing something, it's going to be cancer. If it's not cancer, it's going to be something else. It's going to be cars. It's going to be tornadoes. It's going to be planes. It's going to be whatever. There's always tragedy. You can't escape it. But we're never going to die. I mean, we're going to die. But you know what I mean? There's not going to be some massive event. There's going to be no fucking asteroid or comet hitting the Earth. There's going to be none of that. We are going to keep on keeping on until we figure out the truth. So, I guess what I'm trying to say here is, if there is a fake chakra system, and this person eventually tries to say, this is the real chakra system, guys, look at this one instead. Well, go with your gut, and hopefully your gut's not fucked up, but I'm telling you right now, I don't buy it. I don't buy it at all. Yes, there could be a lot of nonsense out there, and yes, depending on who you learn your information from, you might have learned the wrong way. But that's why when you see something and you resonate with it, whether it's me or Frater or any of the million other teachers I don't even know about that have good information out there, if there's a curriculum or a system that you could start today, and even if it says 6 months to a year to get through the first initiation, just start it. It's the best thing you'll ever do. Yes, it's not going to be easy, and you have to be a little bit disciplined, but you can cast for that. You know, it's so easy to implant suggestions into your subconscious mind, and it'll do the heavy lifting for you if you do it correctly. You can quit smoking if you want to. I don't want to. That's why I'm not quitting it. I will eventually, but I'm not ready to quit yet. I enjoy it. But seriously, you can do anything at all. And if anything that you're choosing to do is to watch things that are going to bring you down and tell you you're not powerful and tell you you've been deceived. Well, yeah, we've all been deceived. But as far as I know, most New Agers are trying to keep, if they're good New Agers, they're trying to keep the world happy and love and light, which is the biggest problem with them. But when they're trying to deceive you and tell you there's a fake chakra system, And he seems like a nice guy. Like, he seems like he's trying to do whatever good. And I mean, I do Reiki all the time. I love fucking Reiki. I don't do it. I mean, I can receive it. If I'm in a bad mood and I don't feel good, I put on Loon and Nate, and she fucking fixes me up. I've never met the girl in her life. The videos I watch are her, all the videos, and I fucking love it, man. Fucking every time. It works like a fucking charm. Now, sometimes, depending on the one I do, it'll give me energy, so then I can't sleep after. But it's like, holy fuck. You know, you can tell there's power in that. And yeah, you have to accept it. You have to say, I accept her Reiki or whatever, or I give her permission to heal me. Something like that. And, you know, it's all in your mind. It's all a symbolic representation for your mind to allow you to heal. Okay, well, he's taking steps to heal this guy, so he really does care about us, so, okay, well, let's heal up for him. You know, it could be as simple as that. It really could be. But it doesn't matter if it's as simple as that. That's the problem. Most things are so simple that people wouldn't believe them if you told them. And then when you start going into complex things like the chakra system is fake, but there's a real chakra system, but there's been another chakra system overlaid on top of the other chakra system, and these entities have created that one so that any energy you send to that chakra is really getting sent right to the fourth dimension, which is technically where the reptilians are, but that's a different story. But it gets sent to the fourth dimension, and now they're getting more powerful, and then fucking Lucifer and Satan's gonna come back, and oh my god, it's so bad, guys, stop practicing New Age stuff. And I get everybody to stop, and then it's like, ha, fuckers, we tricked you. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not trying to be mean, okay? I was just trying to make that funny, and it didn't work out. Seriously, it's up to you. Believe what you want to believe. That's your right. That's your right. I can't take that from anybody. But what I seen from him, and I didn't watch much, and I'm gonna watch more, just so I know. But this is what's coming through me. I put myself in a relaxed state as if I was going to meditate, and I put it on, and I just laid back, and I wasn't even going to look at him, so I wouldn't judge him. I was just listening to his thoughts. And then it was about, 2 minutes into the first video, I had to change it. And I put on the chakra removal. And then another 2 minutes into that video, and all of a sudden, I couldn't do it anymore. And then I had to record this video. And I'm 24 minutes in, and it's just telling me more and more and more to keep on. Like right now, my mind's telling me to talk about how we're in control of everything. Meaning, we can control these entities. These entities aren't more powerful than you. They're in spirit form. They're in thought form, okay? They're floating around. And anybody tries to tell you they're more powerful than you and they're trying to rule the world is bullshit. Because they're little spirit things that are just simple thoughts. They're trying to make you act things out. Just because you accept this thought that you're always going to be poor, doesn't mean this entity lives within you and makes you poor all your life. It's not how it works. I know a lot of people like to say alcohol is spirits, and you get demonically possessed when this happens. And I mean, there could be truth to that. I think there's some underlying something there. Something that was probably missed in translation, because it's definitely not. You get possessed by a spirit. But you burn brain cells to the point where, you don't know what happened sometimes the next day, but I mean, you always have a vague recollection of it. And, I even watched some New Age things that said in bars, there's these spirits all hanging up on the ceiling, and as you drink the bottle, it's like, really? If that's really how it works, then why do you have to drink the alcohol for them to possess you? Oh, because it puts you in an altered state or whatever. It's like, well, I don't know. Ancestors and a lot of spirits, man, if I'm doing something, especially to get money or whatever, I give a little bit of rum to a spirit, and I get the money like in 2 days. So you can say they're bad, but I give them spirit, and they don't even drink the shit. It's just there. They take the essence of it, the spiritual essence of it. So then I shoot that onto the ground and let it get absorbed into the ground after. But then I get the cash. So you say, well, it's demonic. You're using devil forces to give you money. It's like, how are devil forces giving me money? Or is it more likely that you don't want me to get money, so you're going to say that's from the devil? So you try to scare me into not getting it? Like being poor and not having money to pay for my kids' clothes is somehow a bad fucking thing? Like, that is so fucked up, that line of thinking. But you can command the spirits. This is why reject, banish, deny, and accepting the thoughts you do want to play out is so powerful. This involves no circle making, no meditation, no sigils, no magic of any kind. If you simply reject, banish, deny all the thoughts of like poverty, disease, being alone, being suicidal, being depressed, being an addict, if you continuously maybe not the addiction, because addictions are pretty embedded in your subconscious. But if you banish all the thoughts you don't want to have, and you accept thoughts you do want to have, meaning, like I said, I just created a thought. The thought I got was I'm going to be poor. I banished that thought away, and then I created my own thoughts. And on top of it, I'm going to be rich, is what I accept. Just doing that alone, that's what I played in that 2 videos ago. I played by Frederick Xavier. If you listen to the whole part with Frederick Xavier. I had to delete the first version of that video because it got muted somehow. I think my Bluetooth connected on another device in the house, so the sound was technically going to that, and then it didn't play out, and that's why it was only a video. But if you replay it towards the end, Frederick Xavier, in his exact words, says, if you don't want to do, how can you do magic without doing magic? And it's reject, banish, deny. This controls the self-talk in your head. The self-talk is the things that go on over and over throughout the day that you are accepting. Every time you accept a thought, whether it's good or bad, it doesn't matter. But if you just go along with the thought, oh no, it's not going to happen, I'm never going to be rich. Every time you do that, that's what you're creating as you go. These are the negative entities this guy's talking about. It's the thoughts that you're having. If you've been stuck into a negative thought pattern for years and years and years, and you're still stuck in the negative thought pattern, it's very hard to get out of. You can get out of it, but you got to start this practice. You got to hit it from the inside out so it can start spreading. But anyways, I'm going to play the 2 videos I wanted to play here, both by Frater. And I hope you enjoyed another shorter video. I'm not done looking at this information. My subconscious was screaming at me to talk about this right away, and I don't want anybody to think of an asshole, especially the person who sent this in. I really appreciate you sending me this. It is really helpful to talk about stuff that people might be going through, because I didn't know people were thinking about removing their chakras. I'm here talking about chakras and planets. They're probably thinking, holy fuck, I'm going to listen to this guy. We're supposed to remove our chakras, and I shouldn't be focusing on it. I should be focusing on the fact that, no, don't remove your chakras, but let's do it the right way. And like I said, I made a video a long time ago about how people get into New Age and start taking on these different spiritualities without getting the full circle of it. If you don't know you need a magic circle to go in the astral, and you're trying to project yourself into the astral, doing lesser banishings or whatever you're doing, maybe you're just trying to astral project, you need protections up. Everybody should have protections up when they're sleeping, for God's sakes. I'm serious. Your subconscious is wide open. Your conscious mind is asleep. It can't protect your subconscious. Your subconscious can only accept. So it can literally get raped while you're sleeping. It is the girl mind after all. And she can only accept. So while you're sleeping, if there's a TV on, it's going right in. And if there's these negative thought forms all around you while you sleep and you don't have protections up, it can go right in. That is something you should potentially look into. Don't take my word for it. Look into and see if I'm right. This is why witchcraft has been demonized. Because it stops this from happening, which changes your life. Do you know most wealthy, rich people have white candles burning almost all the time in their house? It's for wealth and prosperity. And when things get really bad, they burn a black candle because they know black candles absorb energy. That's why the sun is attracted to black. You wear black, you're going to be twice as high as the person wearing white. It's attracted to it. So burning a black candle in your house sucks up all the negative entities and energies into it, and then when it's gone, they're gone. They hate black candles. You light a black candle up, and even better, make a good sigil right on it. I am so grateful I've removed all the harmful entities and energies in my home. I will be Humphrey, so mo to be. Sign your name. Bam! You're fucking okay. All these things are gone, and you can start feeling better about yourself. Because you won't have these negative entities or negative thoughts sucking the life out of you. He's not wrong about those things. He's not wrong about them, but it's just thoughts. Thoughts are the entities and the energies. They're also the reptilians that are trying to get us. It's all one and the same. Demons are a little more deeper and bigger because you can actually call them and do evocations and shit like that. But once again, if you don't call them to you, then there's no reason for them to come on to you. Unless someone has tried to send one at you. But that's complicated as well, and I'm not even going to get into that. But point is, there's some magical procedure that the New Age world needs to know, or else they're going to get themselves in big trouble. And this is going to be the consequences of not having circles up when they're doing magical things. You can't fuck with your mind without, anyways. You wouldn't perform brain surgery if you didn't know what you were doing, right? You wouldn't do science experiments with these toxic or combustible ingredients unless you kind of knew, the chemistry of these things. If you don't know the chemistry and what doesn't mix well with what, then you shouldn't be fucking with it. Same with this. You shouldn't be fucking with all these spiritualities, putting them all together, unless you know a bit about one. And you don't have to be a priest or a shaman or a witch or anything like that. You can become those things. You can become a ceremonial magician. You can become a witch. You can become a shaman. That's what you probably should do. You should figure out, and there's more than just these three, but you should figure out which one of these three you like, and then from there you'll find other branches and trees and things you can do. But at the base root of it, I mean, witches and ceremonial magicians are both alike. Recognize we need a circle to do our magic within. And witches have adopted the lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram, which comes from Solomon, King Solomon. Dude's in the Bible, but dude was more magical than he was biblical. And religious. Anyways, I'm going to end it at that. I think I said some good things in here. I hope I don't offend anybody. I am really grateful for getting some of these comments so I can go over some of this stuff and break it down a little bit. But I don't want to go too much into it. So I'll leave it at however long it's been, and that'll be that. And I'll leave you with some videos that explain the nature of negative entities, how to banish them, natural ways of banishing them, all of that. Because, yes, if you've been watching this stuff, you may have invited negative thoughts, negative entities to you. Once again, it's not entities as in there's some fucking dude, some big monster, fucking heathen-looking dude with no head, with a fucking pitchfork, or whatever. Whatever your image of a monster, an invisible monster is, that's not what it is. But you are going to have negative thoughts coming in over and over and over again that are going to keep you going down negative thought pattern rabbit holes, fear-based media shit, so you keep watching their stuff. It could be a thought form created for you to keep watching their negativity. And you shouldn't be doing that. You should be watching something that's going to empower you and help you. Because you're worth it. Because you're strong. Because you can command those negative entities to fuck off. You can get them to leave you the fuck alone. Or better yet, you can turn those negative entities into positive entities and use them to go get you money and bring it back. Transformation, baby. That's what I'm all about. I use that like that. There's not a negative entity that comes in my house that doesn't either leave as soon as it comes in or gets transformed into a positive entity or energy. I have that shit carved right above my fucking front door and every one of my fucking windows. Nothing comes in my house without fucking leaving either positive or fuck this shit. I get out of this happy home. But they don't like that. They can't thrive in that. The same thing with dirt. Having dirt on the floor, lots of clutter. Negative entities like that. They will make you lazy so you don't clean up. It's important to clean up. Go around with some salt and water and just sprinkle it all over the place and then sweep that shit up, throw it off your property or into the ground. On your property, into the ground's okay, I think. Keep it far enough away from your house if you can. You can bury it at someone else's property, especially somebody you don't like, well, then you're going to hex them or curse them with your own negative entity. But that might come back to you, so don't do that. And it might not either. They might just hang on to that shit for years, and you're going to feel better while it's into them, but everything returns to source. Now, if that negative energy in the house isn't actually yours, well then, you're not going to hurt them. But that's a whole other story. And that's the thing, I know a lot about negative magic and curses and stuff like that. And it's easy to do, but if you know everything returns to the source, then why would you curse somebody? And you can say, well, Corey, you have episodes about cursing that guy that your wife was talking to. It's like, yeah, no, I know. And you've guys seen the negative energy just come back to me. As much as I tried to create things to stop it from coming back to me, I think I reduced it, but things always return to source. And it takes a really powerful magi, magician, the magus, whatever, witch, shaman, to be able to transform negative energy into positive energy of their own. Someone else's, that shit's easier. You can turn that into whatever you want. Transformation sigil. Find out where it is. Birch made it. I have it on here multiple times. I think I put pictures of it places. Use it. Just start drawing it, getting into your mind. Use it. Anyways, that's it. I'll find those videos and record them and I'll play them. And I hope you enjoy. Have a great fucking
rituals and get all the props and light all the candles in the dark room and conjure spirits, perform magic. The adept certainly doesn't have to. The adept can perform magic anytime, anywhere. within his own mind and be quite successful at it. Now I want you to try something. Anytime you have a negative thought, I want you to treat it as an offer.
Real fast right here. The reason why he said the adept can certainly perform magic anytime, anywhere within his head. And then right after that, he says, I want you to try something. I want you to reject all the negative thoughts and all that. The reason he went from the adept can form in his head to going into this practice is simply this is how the adept does it. And this is the video. This is his first, not his introduction, this is his first video. So this is his second video in his Mind and Magic series where he goes through this. And he says to reject, banish, deny. The reason you reject, banish, deny is because of all the things he's about to say. But first and foremost is once you become the adept, this is how you can perform magic when in the moment, every day, just without ritual, without anything. He says this in a later video that I'll probably play a small clip from as well. But I just wanted to say it for you.
Candles in the dark room and conjure spirits, perform magic. The adept certainly doesn't have to. The adept can perform magic anytime, anywhere, within his own mind and be quite successful at it. Now I want you to try something. Anytime you have a negative thought, I want you to treat it as an offer for you to either accept or reject. Obviously, if it's a negative thought, you're going to want to reject that. So you say, I reject that thought. You don't have to say it out loud. It's more powerful if you do. But you just say it in your head. I reject that thought. On the flip side, if you have a positive thought, say, I accept that thought. Do that for 3 months. And start to see how much your life begins to change by that one practice alone. It takes 3 months because you still got incoming crap coming your way. But after you reject the thoughts or accept them, stop thinking about it. Let it go. If they come back, reject them again. And by doing this, you'll start to condition yourself and train yourself to control your magic that you're already doing anyway, without the need for ritual and props and chants. Those things have their place and reasons, which we'll get into more a little bit later on. But you might say, how am I supposed to monitor my thoughts all the time? Well, just like anything else, it takes practice. After 3 months, it'll just become habit. And understand that this just isn't with thoughts. This is with anything that people say to you, anything you read, anything you hear. You might not be able to control your thoughts, or the things people say to you, or the things you come across, or the things you hear. But you can flip the switch between yes and no. You can certainly do that and begin to take control. You'd be surprised how many people curse themselves by the things that they think and the things that they say. And also the things that they do. I was one of them. See, I'm not talking about anything beyond my experience. I know one guy, I've known him since, we were teenagers. Well, I was a teenager. He was early 20s. And I talk to him now on the phone, and the guy is the most negative person you ever talk to in your life. I talked to him for over, I guess an hour and a half, and not one positive thing came out of his mouth. And I pointed it out to him, and he says, oh, yeah, well, whatever, But he spews negativity just constantly, and then he wonders why his life's shit. And I'm not talking girl who's angry on basic principles here. You know, when I know a girl who's angry all the time, well, most of the time, you know, poorly aspected Mars. We'll get into that a little later on, but she has a lot of anger and violence returned to her. She took her kid to school one time, got out of the car, got hit by a bus. And I shouldn't be laughing, but as she's laying there in the street, an impatient lady who wanted to leave got angry with her for laying in the street, so she couldn't get out. So she got out of the car and started fighting with her. And she's the one that ended up losing in court because he was too argumentative. So you got to get used to this idea that what you put out there is going to return to you. That's just Magic 101 before anything else. It's amazing how many people don't get this. You're already performing the magic anyway with what you're saying and what you're doing. So be attentive to what you're putting out there. And in the next lesson, I'm going to explain. Alright, so I'm re-uploading this video because it's been blocked in certain countries. I know Canada for certain, because of the copyrighted music at the beginning. And because I don't want to give them a reason to block, remove, or place ads on my videos, I'm just going to re-upload it without the music. But it gives me an opportunity to tell you about a dream I had last night. I was with my cousin, and he was complaining that he was having trouble with entities, and to where his bed was shaking and stuff. And I said, oh, well, I know something for that. And I started doing the Kabbalistic cross. And as soon as I started vibrating the first God name, the sound was not what I expected. It came out very loud, very low and deep, like a foghorn, just resonating through the entire environment. It almost had a brass-like quality to it. And the light that I was drawing down ignited into this brilliant flash of burning flame is the only way that I can really describe it. And all of this surprised me, because this wasn't a lucid dream. This was just a normal dream, without my conscious awareness directing it. I was expecting just my normal, everyday, not a big deal ritual, and was unprepared for the power that came through. The cool thing about it is that my subconscious now knows what to do, all on its own now, without any conscious help on my part. The subconscious takes over when you're dreaming, understand? And my subconscious said, oh yeah, I know something for that. And yes, apparently the subconscious makes a big deal of that ritual because it's a normal everyday thing for me. It's really, it's repetitive. But in my dream, it was wow. So subconsciously, the repetitive. But in my dream, it was wow. So subconsciously, they're very profound, which is why we do them. One thing I didn't mention specifically that I probably should have the first time around was always close your circles when you're finished with them. You always want to close the doors behind you, unless you just want something to wander in. And that will about do it. So everything past the opening credits is the re-upload. So if you've seen it before, you won't have to watch it again unless you want to. And I'll see you next time. Take care. Okay, so I've become very busy lately and my time is limited. However, I wanted to get a video out because I've had more than a few people contact me who feel they're under psychic attack, under threat of astral entities, and having disturbances in their sleep, etc., and wanting to know what they can do about it. And there's a number of things that we can do about it. At the risk of getting ahead of ourselves, because I don't really want to get into the true nature of these things just yet, but there are a number of things that you can do. The first of which is to banish, and banish again. Now, I know that I've stressed the importance of grounding exercises such as the middle pillar, but banishing is just as, if not more important. So you should be doing some form of banishing ritual in addition to the middle pillar. In fact, the entire neophyte grade, that is the initial grade, is nothing but practicing banishing and grounding. My personal routine during that grade was to come in the temple. I had a single candle at that time, so I would light my candle, I would light my incense, I would do my relaxation exercises and self-hypnosis to get myself into that trance relaxed state. I would then cast a circle. I would then do a visualization exercise where you imagine yourself getting larger and larger and larger until the universe is at your feet. Then I would do the Kabbalistic cross and lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram. After that, I would do the evocation of the archangels. Is all simultaneously one ritual, basically. I would then do the middle pillar. I would then do my meditation on a point. I would then do my meditation on a tarot card.
Sorry, Fred, I didn't mean to stop you there, but I just thought it was funny, and you probably saw it on the screen recording. Birch Witch School 2020, June 1st it starts, or whatever. And I mean, I said in this video, one of these videos, if, find a program person you like, fucking do it. And I haven't even published this video yet. I'm just recording it, and lo and behold, a thing drops down. Birch makes a fucking video, and it says Witch School starting such and such a date. So, probably not a coincidence. So any of you out there who are thinking the Birch way, well, you just got a hell of a fucking sign. And I mean, there's always the Frederick Xavier way. If you can't afford to do anything right now, start the mystery school. Go onto my podcast and or my YouTube channels, and I will try to find out which one and let you know. But don't wait for me, because that might take forever. But I have left the Kabbalah, the Great Work of Self-Transformation PDF so many times on my podcast, and so many times as a link on my channel, my YouTube channel, that, I mean, you should be able to find it pretty easy. I don't know if there's a fast way to do it by searching it, maybe off on a computer, just going into every video and going through the descriptions. But I've left that book, so you can literally start the whole mystery school and have the book Kabbalah, Great Work, Self-Transformation, start your initiation phase just like that. But if you have the money to follow a program, Frederick Xavier's programs go along with the Kabbalah, the Great Work, Self-Transformation, because that's what he promotes. But he makes magical programs to also teach you the best way to have the best mindset and different spells you can do to manifest money before you get the money, before you get the right mindset, rather. And this way, you get the money, and then things happen where, like, you manifest 10 grand, but you only get 5 grand of it to spend because something happens that could kill 5 grand. Well, you need to do other magics to move your set point and shit like that. But nonetheless, you start this process, you start the transformation, you'll start doing the LBRP and different things like that to banish entities, banish your own thought forms, banish any other things you've created yourself, and you'll stop watching things that will, bring you to bad places. I'm still going to go through all the things she put on my channel. I have a feeling that this is going to be how it may go most of the time. I might say there's some truth to these things, but for the most part, it's going to break down into you focusing on fear versus when you should be focusing on how to empower yourself. But nonetheless, I'm still going to go through them all because there was a viewer who asked me to do something, and I'm going to do that for them. So, I feel the need to actually do what she asked me to go through, and I'm going to go through all these things. But just so you know, I'm pretty positive I'm going to mostly come down to thought forms, and this is something to put you in fear and to disempower you. But nonetheless, I'm still going to go through them all, because you never know what I might find during that. And the fun and the magic, and it's all in the journey, right? The journey to these things are going to give me more insights and better things to teach. So I know I'm being led this way for a reason, so I'm going to follow that intuition. But I'm just like me talking about this happening, and then Birch's thing pops up talking about you should stop looking at fear-based media and follow a guru or follow a teacher and just do what they preach and teach, instead of continuously looking at stuff that's going to disempower you. Well, all of a sudden, Birch's thing comes down. Which school? Fucking, I forget what day it was. November 1st, potentially, or something like that. Which, don't get me wrong, as soon as I can, I'm taking one of those. I haven't took one yet from Birch. And when I do, it's going to be one of his yearly days, his older ones, or one of his new ones, which school, whatever. I just haven't had the time to be able to sit down and actually do his programs. Because for yours, there's audios that you just listen to. And his, you can do the same thing, binge watch them and all that. But anyways, I'm not going to get into all that. I just thought it was funny and I really wanted to bring it up. So I'll go back to Freya.
Simultaneously one ritual, basically. I would then do the middle pillar. I would then do my meditation on a point. I would then do my meditation on a tarot card, and I would end with the Kabbalistic cross, and then I would declare the temple closed, and I was done. Aside from the meditation exercises, the entire grade is nothing but banishing and grounding. You're not really calling anything to you, so there's very little risk of anything getting through. And so you're able to practice. For when you do call things to you, you also want the ability to send it away when needed. Now, there are a ton of how-tos out there on the lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram. I'm not really having to go through how to do all that. It's easily found. There are a number of videos on YouTube, as well as in the book that I recommended that I work out of personally. Kabbalah, Magic, and there are a number of videos on YouTube, as well as in the book that I recommended that I work out of personally. Kabbalah, Magic, and the Great Work of Self-Transformation by Liam Thomas Christopher. Now, a natural form of banishing is laughter. So if you can think of something really funny and laugh for 5 minutes straight, like a really, really good laugh, that will do a lot to clear out a lot of negative things. Now, you can either create or obtain protection wards to keep on your person or around the area in which you sleep, amulets, charm bags, etc. If you do not know how to create and charge such an item, you can always get one from our friend Phil, and I've put his channel in the recommended links on the About tab on my YouTube page. So you can click on his page, get the information for his store, call him up, contact him, explain to him what you need, and he'll be able to hook you up. His page is the Witch School page. The uncrossing ritual that I had done a video on previously is very, very good at eliminating negative entities from you. However, you also want to do a house cleansing when you're doing these things, especially the uncrossing, because if anything detaches from you, where do you think it's going to go? Into your environment. And see, this is why I was talking about my $3,000 vacuum cleaner. It wasn't to brag, it wasn't to gloat. It was to stress the importance of keeping your environment clean. Negative entities do not like hanging out in clean environments. It's probably where the old saying, cleanliness is next to godliness, came from. So you want to keep your space clean, especially where you sleep. Get under the bed, in every corner, etc. Now, I'm sure many of you are familiar with paranormal shows such as Paranormal Witness. I watch these kind of shows as comedies. I find them hysterical. Most of the shows always start off and end the same way. Typically, a family will move into a house, or they'll renovate an old house, and then activity will stir up, and it drives them crazy, and all these frightening things are happening, And eventually they'll either call a paranormal team or a priest. If they call a priest, the priest will come in and there's very little he can do. It scares him off. He runs out the door. If they call a paranormal team, they'll get some kind of evidence or something. Eventually they'll come down to having a house blessing or cleansing. I remember one show where the guy called himself a spiritual cleanser or something like that. I've never heard of that. Well, it's the same thing. He's doing the same thing that you should be doing when you have these type of things happening. They'll either break out the holy water or the smudge sticks, or both, and they'll go to each room and bless and say some prayers, or typically even the Psalms. Psalm 21, I believe, is good for that. Now, to make holy water, you want to get some water, you want to put some salt in there, preferably sea salt. Mix it up real good. Hold the container in your right hand while you're visualizing a light above your head. Imagine that light coming down through your body, through your arm, and into the water. Turn the visualization up, make it brighter until you can feel it, until you can feel the vibrations going into the container of water, and that container of water becomes brighter and brighter and brighter into where it's blinding you. It's good to do this while reciting the Psalms, Psalms 21. Or whatever prayer is good for your tradition. Okay? Any prayer of protection will do. When you've been able to hold this visualization for several minutes, then you should be done and you have holy water. It's a good idea to bless your smudge sticks as well, your white sage smudge sticks. With the holy water, you want to go from room to room and sprinkle holy water on everything, especially the corners. Make sure you get the corners and any areas that are not in view where anything can hide. Same thing with the smudge sticks. Now the big difference here between holy water and smudging an area is the difference in the elements that you're using. We talked about it before. Water and earth are receptive elements. Fire and air are projective elements. So when you're using a smudge stick, for example, fire and air, you want to open a window because these two elements are going to chase the negative energy entity away, and you want to have somewhere where it can go. You want it to go out. You don't want to just corner it somewhere like a wild animal. Now on the flip side, using water and salt as the receptive elements, they're going to draw the negative energy into itself. Okay, so you're going to want to clean that stuff up afterwards. Another vacuuming, another rub down, wash down. Dispose of those materials, those elements, off of your property. Don't just dump them down the sink or toilet unless you want it to go into your plumbing, etc. Now the important thing to keep in mind when doing a house cleansing with these methods is that negative energy isn't the only energy susceptible to the elements. Positive energy will also be absorbed by the water and the salt. They're neutralizing agents. They bring things back to neutral. So if you have a happy, positive home, you do not want to do this. You only want to break out the smudge sticks and the holy water if you're having problems with negative energy entities. Okay? Whenever I want to discharge an item, maybe I got something at the store or something, I don't want other people's energy or the manufacturer's energy or anything on that or within that item. I'll bury it in salt. And I'll do that for about 24 or 48 hours, sometimes longer, so that the salt absorbs all that, and then I dispose of the salt off of my property. Now I didn't make the object more positive, I just brought it back to neutral. I can now take that object and charge it with positive or negative energy if I so choose. It's the same thing you're doing with the holy water and the salt. Okay, you're just bringing things back to neutral. Another thing you want to do is get some protection oil. Uncrossing oil is excellent for this. If you don't have any, you can get some from Phil. You want to anoint the forehead, back of the neck, chest, groin, and feet in an equal-armed cross sign, which is just like a plus sign. And then after you've done your house cleansing, because you don't want to trap anything in with you. So after you've done your house cleansing, you want to anoint on or above each and every door and window opening to your home. And the final thing I'm going to go over, and one of the most important, is to stop dwelling on it. I'll go back to the very first lesson where I said to reject and banish those negative thoughts. These things are attention whores. What they'll do is they'll try to attach to you and then give you and feed you negative thoughts. The first thing they'll do is they'll try to scare you. And the more they scare you, the more they get you thinking about it. And the more you think about them, the more access you give them. They get a better foothold, and the whole thing just becomes an endless spiral, one that gives them more control and dominance in your life. So you want to reject and banish any negative thoughts or thoughts of them that pop into your mind. I've been able to chase away some pretty nasty things with nothing but just love in my heart. They do not like that. I take pity on them that they cannot feel the love. And I'll ask them questions, Why do you not want to feel the love? Why do you reject joy and happiness? And they can't get away from me fast enough. But see, in order to use that method, you have to be out of a fear state. You cannot be in fear and have success with that. So this is why you need to utilize all these other traditional methods to rid yourself of these things until you can get to that place where you're no longer afraid. There's a saying that I have that those who go looking for demons are the ones who find them. Meaning the more you focus on these things, the more foothold and more likely you are to draw these things to you. I know of a group who focuses on reptilians, and a lot of the members never had problems with reptilians until they joined the group and started focusing on them. You got to remember that the subconscious is also connected to the collective unconscious, where all the data is stored. And when you're focusing on something like that, you're basically trying to access that. And then you have problems with it. It's not that these things aren't real. They're very real to those who experience them. And just as real as any of the stimuli collected and transmitted by your conscious mind's sensory faculties, sight, hearing, touch, taste, smell, these are all signals that are processed by the brain and then interpreted. So in that regards as to what's real and what's not. And so they are very real. But what you think about, you bring about. And what you focus on expands. Giving these things the attention is exactly what they want. I mean, I can't even begin to tell you the crazy things that have happened to me. I've had my keys slide across the coffee table right in front of me as I'm watching TV, all on their own. I've had those negative entities of just pure negativity visit me in the middle of the night and wake me up. I've had every plumbing problem that you can imagine, one right after another, when dealing with a rogue water elemental. We live on a street that's on a hill, and I've seen it defy the laws of physics when water from a drain pipe up the street came down the street, stopped in front of my driveway, turned 90 degrees, jumped the curb, which means it had to go uphill to get over the curb, and run down my driveway to my front porch. I have pictures of that. One time in temple when I was doing my exercises and imagining the bright light over my head, I had a bright flash right in my face as if somebody set a flash cube off in front of me, blinding me. And every fiber of my being would swear that that was physical light. But it could have been a product of the mind, or the mind interpreting the signal as physical light. The experience was very real. However, was it physical real? To this day, I don't know. Does it really matter? I mean, we deal with it and we move on. An experience is just that. It is an experience. And we are meant to learn from our experiences. You're going to find that a lot of the so-called hauntings are self-made. Indian burial grounds and the curse of King Tut and these other civilizations of the past would purposely create what is known as thought forms or servitors to guard their burial sites. Ceremonial magicians eventually learned to create their own positive thought forms or servitors to help aid in their tasks. We're not going to get too much into that right now, but just know that you can accidentally create a thought form too just by simply focusing on it and then giving it the characteristics of what you're focusing on. Fear and intimidation, reptilians, and then the reptilians are next to you. So, if you're having problems with negative entities, a psychic attack, and things like that, you want to employ the methods that we've discussed here and then stop focusing on them. Banish all your negative thoughts and avoid giving them the attention that they're seeking. It's really not a big deal once you learn how to handle them. And we'll get more into entities and all that later, but for now, I hope this helps those who are having issues, and okay, so I was all ready to do the first lesson on astrology when that subconscious intuitive side of me said, no, you need to do this. And I'm like, really? Okay then. And I know it was the intuitive side of me because it gave me two words, rose cross. And that's something I haven't done in well over a year, if not more, for very good reason. The Rose Cross ritual was the furthest thing from my conscious mind. So, before we get into astrology, which we will, we're going to go over a few other things that you can do to protect yourself against people wishing to do you harm through psychic attack, entities, or just bad vibes in general. Now, the first method, I don't know what it's actually called, but I call it putting your shields up or return to sender. So when you feel that you're under some kind of bad vibe or something, you put your shields up. So you want to get into a relaxed state, which, by the way, as a side note, if you're having trouble getting into a relaxed state, you need to work on your breathing rhythm. And there's an exercise called the fourfold breath, which goes as such. You breathe in for 4, you hold it for 4, you breathe out for 4, you hold that for 4, you breathe in for 4, etc. If you can't hold it for 4, hold it for 2, because the rhythm is more important than the count. You need to get into a rhythm. If you're not breathing in a rhythmic way, then the odds are you're not relaxed enough. And at first you're concentrated on the count, but eventually that count will fade away while you slip into that rhythmic pace required for the theta brainwave state of trance. And this is for all your relaxation exercises at the beginning, and why all the spiritual gurus have you focus on rhythmic breathing. So you get relaxed. And then you want to imagine your aura around you, okay? And visualize your aura. Hopefully you all know what the aura is. The bioelectromagnetic field around your body. If you don't know, then Google will be your friend at this point, because I'm not going to get into all of the aura stuff just yet. Only to say that you imagine it, you visualize it as clearly as you can, and you imagine that the outer part of that aura is turning very, very solid, very, very hard, and very, very reflective, and looks like a mirror, so that anybody looking at you will see themselves, and anything coming at you will bounce off of it and be returned to sender. And you repeat those words over in your mind over and over while you're visualizing return to sender. Return to sender. Return to sender. Return to sender. You don't have to say it out loud. You can just repeat it over and over in your mind. Now, the important thing here is it's not just a one-off. You just don't do this for 5-10 minutes and you're done. You're going to have to keep that shield up the entire time the attack or the bad vibes coming at you are taking place. You may have to do this for several hours. The good news is it's one of the easier visualizations to maintain. As long as you can keep the idea that you are in a bubble, a big metallic reflective bubble the shape of an egg or whatever, you're doing okay. It doesn't have to be a mirror. You can make it a big rubber or something. I'm rubber, you're glue. Everything bounces off of me and sticks to you. That might actually be better for the subconscious, that old childhood rhyme saying there. And if you're decent at relaxing, you can go do other things. I mean, you don't just have to just sit there, in the same spot. I've been able to, move around as long as I'm keeping that visualization in my mind. And I've been able to, sit there and watch some TV, which I don't watch a lot of, and just have that feeling of, things bouncing off my shield. And I'd do that for several hours. Now, I've had success with this. Both of these methods that I'm teaching you now, I've had success with. I remember one evening I felt something odd, bad vibes. Something wasn't right, so I put the shields up, and I held it for several hours, most of the night. And it was about a day or so later that I was talking with a friend of mine who proceeded to tell me about another mutual friend of ours who was talking shit about several people, myself included. A couple days after that, that particular individual lost his job of 20 years. Coincidence? All magic is going to seem like a coincidence. This isn't baneful magic. These people are doing it to themselves. They're being hit with their own force they've put out. As long as your intent isn't malicious. If you know who's attacking you, there's no need to get upset or angry or any of that. In fact, the happier you can be while you're maintaining this, the more defended you are. Simply by polarity. You need no other thought than return to sender. That's all you need. And it seems to work rather well against gossipers, rumor spreaders, and shit talkers. Okay, so the other method we want to discuss is the Rose Cross Ritual. I'm not going to discuss how to do the Rose Cross Ritual. You can easily find it online, and I will post a link in the description to a page where you can find the exact method. The Rose Cross works with the aura as well. However, instead of hardening it into a defensive structure, it's shrouding it and concealing it. This is the infamous invisibility ritual, because those wishing to do you harm will not only have a difficult time finding you, but may even lose interest altogether. Now, it's said that when you do the Kabbalistic cross and the lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram, that you light up the astral plane. Yes, you banish things and keep things at bay, but everything knows where you are. And after the last dream that I had told you about in the previous re-upload of Banishing Entities, that little forward I put about my dream about me doing the Kabbalistic cross, and it lit everything up, that certainly seems to be the case. The Rose Cross does the opposite. The Rose Cross will hide you on the astral. Now, the warning that comes with the Rose Cross is that it just doesn't hide you from those wishing to do you harm. You do not want to do this unless you like being ignored. Family, friends, everyone. It's not that people can't see you physically. They can still see you physically, but your aura is shrouded, and if you're just going about your business, your daily business, you will be ignored. You have to be careful crossing the street after doing this ritual, because drivers may not see you. So use with caution, because in my experience, it seems to last longer than I really wanted it to. I was even being ignored on Facebook and social media. So now you know why I haven't resorted to using it since I've started doing these videos. I actually want people to watch them. No sense in doing a video series if I'm performing the Rose Cross. But somebody out there needs this, because otherwise I wouldn't have been directed into talking about it. I just need to make sure that you understand what you're in for. This is an extremely powerful ritual, and unless you're jumping up and down, waving your arms around, and shouting at the top of your lungs in order to get someone's attention, it's going to be a very...
Today, Psychic Defense and Shield. Howdy, kids. Your Uncle Birch with another episode. Today, Psychic Defense and Shielding. I was just watching a video over at Mystery School. Gave me the idea to do this video because I have so many videos I mean to do. I forget. I should write them all down at some point. But folks over at Mystery School give me a lot of plugs, and I found that out because my viewers keep telling me so. But I haven't been able to thank them because you can't leave any comments on the webpage. But clearly they watch. I was just watching a video on Mystery School, a honey jar, and I saw a candle that I made in the video. I make thousands of candles, and the people that work here make candles as well, but I remember every one that I made out of those thousands. They're like my little children out there doing stuff in the world. I love when I see videos with my stuff in them. There's several videos out there where people bought tools for me and things in there in the video. I forget John's channel, but the guy that talked me into doing videos, he often has my stuff in his videos. But today, the shielding and psychic defense without stuff. We have plenty of stuff for psychic defense, for protection. You can always visit our website at sacredgrovesantacruz.com. It's mostly the things that we make on the website. We don't fill it with jewelry and a lot of other things. Probably will do that at some point, but haven't done that. So mostly what you see there at sacredgrovesantacruz.com is the things that we make: potions, lotions, brews, stews, that kind of thing. But you don't always have something on you, right? So you're going to need to shield all the time. You know, when you're going to sleep, it's when you're most vulnerable. Actually, when you've been asleep for a while, like 3 in the morning, is the most vulnerable time. So I've, for me, in addition to all the other ritual stuff that I do, I come up with different ideas. And one of the things that I do is the thing that I'll teach you now. First, over at Mystery School, they hit on what was it called? The fourfold breath. Great idea, great idea. It is important when you're trying to relax, and relaxation, concentration, and projection being the 3 keys of magic. So first, we need to relax. Hope that truck wasn't too loud. And one of the best keys for relaxing is rhythmic breathing, and he gives a great technique over at Mystery School, the fourfold breath. Inhale, hold it for 4 seconds. Inhale for 4 seconds, hold it for 4 seconds, release it, hold that release for 4 seconds, then repeat the process. And as he says, if you can't do 4 seconds, maybe you need to stop smoking or something. But if you can't do 4 seconds, you could do 2 seconds, 3 seconds, change that rule accordingly. But the rhythmic breathing is really important. So you're going to relax, and I want you to think about this while you're relaxing, while you're practicing your rhythmic breathing. Some people confuse the word ritual with religious rites. Our religious rites are rituals. But ritual really means more akin to the word habit. That's why we call the morning ritual, and often, morning rituals, getting coffee, checking the news, working out, whatever your morning routine is. Routine is ritual. And that idea kind of gets lost in the equation when we think of it as religious rite. But what it means there is that our religious rites are supposed to become habitual. So we repeat the processes so many times that they automatically take on their own rhythm. They automatically start happening. So you establish this process that I'm going to teach you, and you keep doing it, and then you're able to make it easier. So what we do, first we relaxed, and we speak the words, or shout them out in our minds, because maybe, we live with somebody, we don't want to wake them up. Shields up. Shields up. I borrow a lot of ideas from Star Trek. Shields up, we say. And when we say shields up, we visualize projecting our aura, pushing our aura out, changing the color of our aura. There may be many colors in our aura, but we want to visualize a shell on our aura of purple light. Purplish, bluish light. Blue, I've seen blue done as well, but I like purple. Purple, and we fill the purple light with little gold flecks, sparkly flecks, almost like glitter floating around, or gold flakes floating around in our aura. We push that out, and we tell that aura, you're going to shield me from negativity sent from other sources. You're going to shield me from negativity sent from other sources. Now, you want to make that even better? I'll give you another one. Now, first of all, I'm not going to make it easy for you, because in my tradition, we were taught that it is the seeking of knowledge that brings wisdom, not the giving.
All right, what's going on? So, my last video was a very short one, and it was showing and explaining what I'm going to be looking into. Just since I had a viewer comment, very, very sweet comments, very nice, saying they're enjoying my stuff and they binge watch my stuff. Which, after looking at the list of things they want me to talk about, she might get a little, if that's the kind of stuff she enjoys looking at with what she wants me to talk about. I don't talk about a lot of that stuff, so you know, but I hope she doesn't get upset or doesn't like my opinion or whatever the case is. I hope we don't just disagree with each other and she decides to stop watching me. However, there's a good chance that might happen, but I'm going to be completely honest here. Like, I had never even heard of chakra removal. I don't even know what the fuck this is. So, my understanding of your chakras is we have glands in our body, and we also have meridian points. If you're doing anything like Taoist or even like pranayama, yogi stuff, kind of mixes with this, because I do the microcosmic orbit religiously, to use a funny term, but I do that religiously, you know, and the point of that is the lower Danantian, the one in the navel center, we release energy from there and we circle it around our body by the using of your tongue through visualization. You basically control the chi around you that is released from your Danantian. And that's one thing I really enjoy doing. And now, once again, there's 7 chakras in your body, potentially more, because there's the Earth Star chakra, which is within the Earth itself, which opens up when you open up your Saturn chakra. The Earth Star chakra is like this connection between the ground chakra, your root chakra rather, and it opens up. It doesn't mean you necessarily control it or do anything with it, so maybe technically it's not even a chakra, who knows. But there is something there, and there is something to that, because I felt that. I get, that's where, anyways, it doesn't matter. But chakra removal, and assuming that chakras are something that was implanted in you, is something that I'm new to learning, so I don't want to really give my opinion yet without having looking at the both sides of the argument and what this is all about. But right off the top of my head, knowing what I know, knowing how using the chakra system, and not just in the way of like, okay, I gotta balance my chakras and all that. I mean, literally, these are energies within your body. So I do magic. I do fucking magic. And every day of the week is a different chakra. So whenever I'm calling on the moon, my subconscious mind, and I'm saying I'm grateful to the moon for such and such, well, it's not necessarily the one up in the sky I'm talking to. I'm not sending my intent to space. I'm using the energies within my body. I am those planets. Those planets are me. I incorporate those planets in everything I do. When I use Saturn to banish something, I'm using my ground chakra. Or sorry, I always say ground. I'm using my root chakra to banish that thing out of my life. When I'm using Jupiter to expand my finances, or expand my cock, as I went into my last episode, or second last episode, that made my wife sore and not be able to have sex with me because she's never felt my cock as big as it was. And, you know, I actually grew half an inch. I'm talking to the Jupiter within my body when I'm trying to find things I'm passionate about and get artsy. And because I raise the chrism oil in my body when the moon enters my sun sign, and I abstain from sex to those 2.5, 3 days, and I have a calendar that tells me. And what my practice is, and what I do with that time, I have a specific way of channeling Marsarian energy, sacral chakra energy, and I before the day I have to abstain from sex, well, the 2.5 days, give or take, sometimes a little more, sometimes a little less. What I do is I meditate, in a manner of speaking. It's not always just sitting there in a meditative, but I allow let's just say I allow the information to come to me on, is there a project I have open that I could finish up that is going to best release all my creative, passionate energies to the point where I'm not going to need to have sex. Because if you're releasing your creative energy, if you're putting everything into your projects creatively and passionately, then there's no need to have sex. I think it was by Thunder Wizard. Yeah, it was Thunder Wizard. He was talking about, someone asked if you have to abstain from sex to raise a chrism oil. And he said, short answer, no. If you have to release, he's like, if you have to take a dump, you take a dump. You don't hold that shit in. It's beneficial. It's like same thing with that. He's like, unless you have a practice that, I think that's what he was getting at. I mean, I could be wrong, but for me anyways, what I was told and taught was, if you want to do that, that's kind of what you have to do, is get rid of that energy so it doesn't back up. Because if you're still horny and you haven't got rid of all that creative energy, then you're not gonna, he says it'll just get blocked up down there and stay down there. And I think that's right, because there's been a few times I did this, and when I did abstaining from sex, before I used a creative hobby to put all my sexual energy into, which, by the way, when you do it right, whatever thing you're working on, it ends up becoming a masterpiece because you're putting so much energy into it. But anyways, times I didn't do it right, like I've had, it was like semen coming out of my cock. Go to the bathroom, go to pee, it's like, what the fuck is that? And I mean, if you read stuff about certain STDs, it's like, what the fuck? I have an STD? I've literally gotten checked because of this, thinking you had an STD. It's like, I didn't fuck anybody. I'm like, I think my wife would have fucked anybody. Fuck knows. But no, he's like, no, you got nothing there. He's like, sometimes that happens. It's like, what do you mean sometimes that happens? I've never heard of that happening. But anyways, so then whenever Thunder Wizard said that, it's like, well, maybe it does get all blocked up there when you don't do it right. Maybe that's what I was experiencing. But anyways, that's besides the point. I'm not someone strange to STDs. I've had chlamydia before, way back when I first met my wife. One of us gave it to each other. We don't know who still to this day. She had her pap test and found out she had chlamydia. So we were both very quiet and didn't talk to each other because we just got together. And so we went through who we thought it might have been each, and we agreed to not fight with each other over it, that we both made a mistake and we don't know who it was. And it was very mature how we do it. But anyways, take a pill and that shit goes away. But it's one of the easiest ones to catch, and untreated, it causes some problems. Now, it does cause a little bit of leakage like that, but it's a different color than the color I had. Plus, there's some painful things that go along with it and some other things. So, I really like thinking about it. Anyways, but, so, when it comes to chakra removal, I'm very shocked. But I'm not really shocked, actually. So, this is connected to your internal power. This is internal power, okay? You can literally, if you understand that you're sending your intention to Jupiter and Saturn and all that, and you're not sending it to the out there in the sky, if you actually send it out there, you'll get it back, and things will happen. But you'll see that it take longer. And once again, Frederick Xavier has a video about this. He's like, people that are sending their energy way out into the universe, way out to Saturn and Jupiter, those fucking planets are far. Even Mars is right after us, but he's fucking far away from us. Even the moon is fucking like far away from us. Like, that's stupid to send it all the way up there. You don't want to do that shit. What you want to do is realize these energies are within your body. That's where you're sending it. And your subconscious mind is a link to these divine energies that are within your body. And yes, as you use them, like your Saturn can be blocked, and I'm pretty sure you could still use energy in your body. You know what I mean? But anyways, that's another story for another time. But so removing these chakras is trying to remove your connection to them, because you can't remove chakras. You can't remove the chakras out of your body. I mean, once again, I haven't done the research on it yet, so I'm going to get more into this. I'm going to look at it. But just at first glance, in my opinion, why would you want to get rid of these energy centers that can be used to your benefit? Now, if someone's telling you that they're dangerous and it's some alien agenda and all that, then, I get why people might be a little fearful of that. But there's a good chance that we're not even from this planet, and that we're technically fucking the alien agenda that they're talking about. And that's why we have these centers, and that's why we have these powers. That's why the planets that are out there, in the universe, extraterrestrial, ET aliens, right, come from outside of our planet. Well, those planets, I'm just describing you what the chakras are, they're outside of our atmosphere. So what makes you think that we aren't some type of extraterrestrial that comes from out there? Because if we have 7 planets up there that match the 7 energies in our body, well, would that make us like these little gods walking around? with these 7 planetary energies within our body. And why wouldn't you want to harness that? Why wouldn't you want to use that to empower yourself and say, no, I got to get rid of these fucking chakras? It's like, well, if you get rid of those chakras, what are you going to be? How much power are you going to have? You're not going to have anything. What if these things are the source of your power? You know what I mean? What if the reason you can do things is because you've got Jupiter and Mars and Venus and Mercury and the moon and the sun? My God, the sun is like so powerful, man. You know? What if it's because you have these energies in you? Who did I forget? Mars, Mercury, Sun. I mean, you got the Neptune, Pluto's, and Uranus too as well in you. But I stick to the 7 because if I don't completely understand the 7, then why would I add 3 more to that? You know. But you know, Zeus, Aphrodite, Kronos, Aries. I mean, these are powerful things. This is why we have all these mythologies with the same 7 that overlap each other. That's why our movies describe it, is because these 7. That's why the days of the week are there. They're there to explain to you that these 7 energies, these 7 days of the week, are honoring these 7 planets in the sky, the same 7 energies in your body. It's so powerful. And to say that you need to remove that, it's like people got you all kinds of confused. I'm going to play something from Thunder Wizard right now. It's an old video about him explaining the reptilian deception, about David Icke potentially. He says everything he's saying is correct, but the reptilians aren't actual shapeshifters in the physical body. It's not like the Queen is a reptilian who can change into a human and back to a reptilian. But what it is they are in a different dimension, and I think that's correct, but I don't necessarily agree on the reality of it, meaning there is reptilians and there is a bunch of reptilians in another dimension, but I think it's because we created it. I think somebody wrote it in a book, therefore gave it power, and the more people that know and believe that, it's more real. But I think we can do without that shit. I don't think we need to focus on reptilians at all, or any other ETs. I think we have so much we should be focusing on already that empowers us, that to focus on all these extras that might be possible but might not be possible and really doesn't do you any good. It's just silly if you don't understand your own body, your own energies, and how to get stuff in your subconscious mind. Focusing on anything else other than that, whether it's to blame it why you can't do something or not, it's just stupid, you know. And it's not anybody's fault. Like, I did it too. I think you have to go through this fear-based media stage, and it's different for everybody. You know how long that takes. I think you have to be scared into spirituality, because you got to realize ultimately that, you know, you can either give it up, you get so scared that you go back to God or Jesus, or you stick it out and you realize that it's really not as scary as they're making it. And that's what that thing is for. That's what that information is for. It's to scare you out of doing it. I mean, if a bunch of people stop associating with their chakras and start believing they removed their chakras, what do you think's going to happen, man? I mean, these things are connected to important glands in your body. The one around the throat, whether it's the thyroid or something else. I'm going to look this up to get it right for you. But most people, by the time they're like whatever age when they die, so anywhere from 60 to 80, I think it was, the thing is so small and shriveled up, and it's what causes them to die. And that's associated with either the throat or the heart chakra. I can't remember which one. That gland is all shriveled up and dead. And another one that comes to mind is this one here that gets all calcified and shit like that. For people not using it or whatever the case is. Once again, you don't have to use that to start spirituality. That thing releases DMT when you're sleeping, and it helps whenever you meditate and all that, but if you have that open when you're physically awake in the 3D, it's not like things are going to happen for you. You have to be in that right state of mind to do stuff like that. Now, is there a correlation with people with their third eyes open and people being able to visualize stuff? Like, I can imagine things like they're right here. I can see things like they're right here. Like, as a kid, I could sing on stage and pretend I was performing in my bedroom. My bedroom was a concert. Like, I could see all that. I could have conversations with people like it was nothing. You know what I mean? I could visualize shit like that. But I had trouble calming myself. I had attention deficit disorder. So I could visualize the shit out of everything, but I couldn't. When I started having to meditate, it was fucking hard as fuck. And I think it's Freud or Xavier that says people normally have one or the other. They normally have the discipline to be able to meditate, or they're able to visualize shit, but they can't slow down their mind to actually, implement it in a smart way or whatever the case is. So it does become kind of a challenge. And I don't know if that's connected to having your third eye open, if you're able to visualize. I do know, I'm pretty positive anyways, that if you can't dream at night, well, start keeping your dream journal and stuff like that, but I think that has to do with your pineal gland, your pituitary gland, all that. And like I said, it wasn't until, I was doing the reverse osmosis. I was doing everything that the new agey sites told me to do to decalcify my pineal gland. Nothing was happening. If anything, the more I watched videos on how to calcify your pineal gland, all I was doing was, that title was telling my mind that my pineal gland was calcified. That's basic NLP. That's basic fucking analog marking. That's basic fucking little tactics to do things. Here, I'm going to help you how to decalcify your pineal gland. So what happens is they're just telling you your pineal gland's calcified. They give you a bunch of remedies for it, but the more you watch it like that, the more you believe your fucking pineal gland is calcified, the more it's calcified. It wasn't until I started raising the chrismoid that I started having these profound things happen. Like I said, do a meditation, I'd see this vision. And I say vision, I'm using that very loosely, that term. Because it wasn't this big grandiose thing and I went started convulsing and all that, but it's almost like you start going into the sleep, but then you remember, holy fuck, I'm meditating, okay, I gotta bring it back. But then you get these visions every time you kind of space out. And I saw this thing and I was like, oh, that's fucking cool, what was that? And then I put on a video by an Australian, fuck's his name, I can't remember, but, and then that thing was in the video, and it was a super important part that I ended up making a whole video about. So, is that your pineal gland decalcified? Absolutely, because I'm awake, yet I'm dreaming. You can say, well, how's that possible? Well, it's DMT release. It's gotta be. I mean, how do you dream while you're awake? How do you see things while you're awake? Unless you take hallucinogens, the rest is pretty impossible. And this is such a simple process. The more you start meditating, it's just going to start happening. But once again, I know a lot of people want an excuse for why they can't do the things people are talking about. And a lot of things people are talking about are just there to make you feel like you need a reason to not be able to do this shit. It's terrible. And that's why I think there's people like me, there's people like Thunder Wizard who are on a whole different level than me, and people like Freud Xavier and Birch that are on a whole different level again, that are trying to demystify this stuff and call out the fakes and the frauds that are trying to tell you that, you have to do all this shit, whatever else. Well, it's just silly. But, once again, I didn't look into any of that stuff yet, so I'm going to look into it. I'll give it a fair chance, and I'm going to see what's what. Now, I looked into targeted individuals, and I looked into implants and all that. And I come to find out about the targeted individual anyways, that as much as I thought I was being targeted at one point, pretty positive it was just my mind doing it to me. It's one of those things that if you start putting your focused energy into being a targeted individual, things will happen and line up that you want. I really think it comes back down to what you focus on expands. Meaning if you were focusing on becoming rich, then that will happen. If you're focusing on the fact that you think you're being targeted, then that will happen. And do I think there's truth to people being targeted, people being watched? Abso-fucking-lutely. I mean, as an ex-criminal, my phones were tapped. The cops were following me everywhere. They busted into my house just a half an hour before I got rid of the fucking 50 grand that was there. And they tore my house apart looking for it. They kept saying, we know it's here. I was in custody, and my girlfriend and her sister were locked up like two criminals on the fucking curb outside of my house for all my neighbors to see at this time. Which is still the neighborhood I live in now today, so most people think I'm doing something wrong, and I'm not. But I was in custody, and they didn't find shit, and they had to release me. And then, out of spite, I left my house like a fucking mess. It's like, whatever, you win some, you lose some. I get it. I wasn't even there to act like a cocky prick, which I would have been. But it's like you can't even help clean up, that would be okay to help clean up, but you're not even trying to help. You're just straight up leaving it a fucking mess, you pricks. Anyways, it's 8:17 right now. I put this video by Thunder Wizard, and I'll come finish this on after, but my wife's about to start work, and she might be a little upset that I'm not home right now, so. But anyways, I'm I'm not saying that these things aren't real. I can't know. I think everything that is out there has a bit of truth to it, because nothing is all just fake and nothing is all just real. It's a mix, and people's minds can make things real. Therefore, if there's a whole crowd of people out there that think they're targeted individuals, then there's going to be some of them that might be targeted individuals because they might be doing something illegal and they might be doing whatever the case is. But for the most part, our minds create thought forms. As a magician, it's one of the most powerful fucking things you can do. You can create a thought form that do anything for you. So if a bunch of people are putting focused energy and fear into something, then yeah, there's a thought form watching you right now. You guys program this thought form to watch you, to make you feel like you're being watched. It might even make sounds happen and weird things happen, and all these little things that you read, like, oh, here's how you know if you're a targeted individual. Well, these are all the things that thought form is going to do. Your mind is that powerful. You can create thought forms. We do it often. Part of my Kabbalah Great Work of Self-Transformation, all the banishings and all that, is, I don't like to say this too much because I don't want people getting into it just for that, and people with thought forms or being scared of it, but part of doing this shit is to get rid of all these thought forms you've created your entire life. It does. All the banishings, get rid of it. All these thought forms. And it's one of these reasons that it's easier to reprogram your mind, because you have these thought forms you created over and over again that are helping you keep the same programming. So if you think you're never going to be never going to be rich, then you have this thought form beside you. Every time you get a nice thought of, hey, maybe I'll win some money today, it's like, no, you know with your past experiences, the whole reason you created me was because you never get money. My job here is to make sure you never get money. It keeps whispering that shit in your ear. And that's just a way of thinking about it. None of us know what these thought forms look like and how they actually act. Well, I mean, I think people that can see spirits or whatever, I think they're actually seeing thought forms that people created, and that's why they can help someone when they see their grandmother beside them. You know, that's their grandmother they created. They feel sad and mad that they never got to say goodbye or tell them they were sorry. So they create the image, all the programming they know, and that's why the spirit beside them knows everything their grandmother knows. That's why the person can be like, well, if it's really my dead mother, then, or dead grandmother, can you tell me what her eyes color was? And she can tell them. Can you tell her what she did for a living? Well, it's because that person knows all the stuff about her grandmother, and she put that into that thought form. So the person that can see these energies, see these entities, can read that thought form. That's what I think. That's just my opinion, but that's what I think. And then once she allows that person to let go of the thought form, say your mom doesn't care, she loves you, she's in a better place now, that person gets some relief. And then instead of falling under that fear created in that thought form, she feels love and happiness, and she lets the being go. I'm not convinced that that's not what our ghosts are, our hauntings are. I'm not convinced. I mean, I know there's other things out there, like elemental spirits and shit like that. That's something I believe is different. Just like planetary energies are different. But I think the vast majority of the things we do and the things we put power into is thought forms. And if you, in a bunch of groups, there's something to say about number and power, or power and numbers, more people thinking the same fucking thing and putting love or fear energy into the same thing, and then going out there and taking action and talking about it and showing people proof online. You're adding action to thought and putting emotion into it. You're creating a thought form that is real. You made it real. So it's real in a manner of speaking, but it wasn't real until you guys made it real, is what I think. And I don't know if I'll be able to be swayed from that or not, but it's just, that's what I ended up coming to when I was looking into it. That was what I ended up figuring out, was that we have the power to create thought forms. So I went from this state of victimhood and thinking that nothing will ever work for me because anything I did, I was targeted, I had these implants in me, I couldn't do nothing. And then I think someone had actually said to do ceremonial magic or witchcraft to break it or something like that. So that's when I started looking into something. That the point is, when I realized that thought forms were like everything, and basically any kind of magic basically is creating a thought form, wow, that was just eye-opening. Because, yeah, I mean, it's insane. The things you can do with a thought form, you can create a thought form for anything. To go get your money, to get you, to protect your family. I've got some just to protect me from COVID. I got some that bring me money on all my different, because all wealthy people have multiple revenue streams, multiple incomes. So for every one of my incomes, I have a thought form making sure there's always people added or people seeing what I have to offer. And to me, it works better than advertising. So, and like, I don't get attacked or nothing. Like, I see all these magicians out there talking about people attacking them and stuff like that. And I have a few videos where I thought I was attacked and things happening. Like, my computers get wonky sometimes and all that, and my phone acts up on me. And I used to not be able to create episodes, and now it's like I don't have a problem at all anymore. At all. And I have all these thought forms protecting me. Like I said, I got armies of thought forms. I use that. That's one of my, to go back to the beginning, one of my spiritual practices for when it's that time of month when I shouldn't have sex, when I'm raising the prism oil, when the moon is in my sun sign. One of the Marsarian energies, because Mars energy, you know, especially being a guy, we like war, we like fighting. So one of my practices is to create thought forms that will protect me and my family. And I make them some fucking crazy soldier motherfuckers, man. I use as much Mars energy as I fucking can and make these guys so badass to protect my family. I make a new one every time I do this. Well, not every time. But that's how the harmony, I mean, that was the initial process. I used that. And then I got so into it that even after my moon sign was already, or my moon was already out of my sun sign, even after that happened, I just kept going until I had like 10 soldiers that were thought forms. And then those were like the snipers on the roof. And then I decided to create infantry. If you can't snipe, somebody manages to get by a sniper, and then I need some infantry that no one can see. And then it wasn't long after this I came up with the idea of having a decoy in my house. A big egregore that, you know, let's say someone else's thought form sees it. Well, they're going to go after that guy, and he's just a decoy, and there's another one that'll come and fucking mangle them up. These are the last line of defense in my house. Actually, that's not true. Last line of defense are all my wards, all my magical things. And see, this is something else that's better to put your ideas into. But at the same sense, the same thing can happen. If you're continuously worried about protecting yourself and think you're under attack, you're going to make yourself attacked. Your own mind is going to create the circumstances to you because you're focusing on it constantly.
Hi, this is Michael William Denny of ThunderShamanism.com. So today, this is going to be a really exciting video. I'm really looking forward to sharing this information with you. Today we're going to be talking again about the global conspiracy of the reptilians. And I'm going to reveal to you information that maybe some of you have intuited, but I'm gonna, you know, here's the thing about the reptilian conspiracy. The information that's being presented to us through people like David Icke and others is actually very true. But the problem is that their understanding about it is incomplete. And so if the information is not complete, then you don't know what actions are necessary for you to take. So this is why it's important that a shaman interprets this information. Because here's something that we need to understand about the reptilians and their world and ours. And this is something that shamans have known, you know, throughout the centuries in all cultures. Shamans know...
Real fast. I love this video. And it's going to teach you a lot of good things. But if you think you need to become a shaman or anything like that, I think the word shaman he's using there could be a witch, it could be a magical practitioner, anybody who has the eyes to see and the ears to hear. It's not necessarily just has to be a shaman. But the use of the word shaman is definitely accurate here that he's using, is somebody who is, you know, who can interpret this correctly. Because, yeah, he's not wrong. And somebody like David Icke might be, or could be, a magical practitioner, a shaman, something to that effect. So that's why he's getting these downloads and getting this information. But if he's got programming within him, then it comes out through that nervous system, that programming that he understands. So he's going to give it to you in the lens of, let's say it's Christian programming, he's going to give it to you in the lens of, okay, well, the devil is really the reptilians, and they're bad, and they're among us, and everything that he's ever been taught that the devil can do. Well, he's going to give those attributes to reptilians. And I'm not saying that's what's happening with David Icke or anybody else. I'm just saying that that's how it plays out. So when he says you need a shaman to interpret it, it's basically, and this is just my opinion, but somebody who's in a depolarized state who can actually explain it to you without having, emotional attachment to it, without trying to say, these guys are bad, you need to do the opposite, because that's not the case. I mean, there's useful information you can get from the reptilians, and you can literally talk to the reptilians and get their opinion on how to not be swayed by them. And before you say, well, that's not true, you can't fucking do that, it's like, okay, go read the book, Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon Hill. And in that book, he has a conversation with the quote-unquote devil. And, yeah, sorry, my wife just said I need to do a candle for something. That's how much she's coming around. Anyways, in that book, he has a conversation with quote-unquote the devil. And in there, the devil explains it's not a man with a pitchfork and a spiked tongue and a fucking tail that's like a spade that can stab people and living on the other side waiting for you to come to hell. He's the negative part of the atom, which I think is accurate but also inaccurate at the same time, because once again Napoleon Hill was assuming the devil was a bad guy, and in this interview the devil actually gives you quite a bit of good information on how to beat his tactics. So he interpreted this information from the quote-unquote devil, probably from a meditative state, and then gave it to the world. But is it actually the devil he's speaking to? Well, who the fuck knows? Obviously it's not, but he got good information. So he was the shaman or witch or magical practitioner, the channel which the information came through. But it's still a polarizing view nonetheless, but it is one that could help you. And because it teaches you quite a bit. The point is anybody can intuit this information, but if you haven't got rid of programming that makes you see only good or bad, then you're going to deliver your information like that and help polarize people more and not necessarily help them. So when Michael Denny, Thunder Wizard, David is saying, you need a shaman to interpret it, I think he's right. But I think that shaman word can be more broad as to any kind of person who can channel without associating with one of those sides. Present the information to you from a depolarized state. And this way you can see all the aspects.
About it is incomplete. And so if the information is not complete, then you don't know what actions are necessary for you to take. So this is why it's important that a shaman interprets this information. Because here's something that we need to understand about the reptilians and their world and ours. And this is something that shamans have known, throughout the centuries in all cultures. Shamans know that there are multiple dimensions that are overlapping each other all the time. And that the dimension that we live in here is sort of like a kaleidoscope where we're able to tune in other dimensions and either bring those aspects of that dimension into our world, we're able to go into their world and vice versa. But those dimensions need us in order to access our dimension. Otherwise, they're stuck in their dimension. And they try to influence us in all kinds of ways. The celestial masters, they try to influence us from their dimension. The reptilians have their own dimension that overlaps ours. And they, not only do they try to influence us, but they actually try to trap us in their dimension and then use us as vehicles. Now here's the part that a lot of people don't understand about the reptilians. You hear about the reptilian shapeshifters. This is absolutely correct. But what people seem to think is that there's these reptilians who are pretending to be humans. But that's not how it works. The reptilians use humans as hosts. And those human hosts are completely, totally unaware that they're being used as hosts for the reptilians. So that's how the reptilians get into our dimension and influence us. But they do it in concert with us. And it's only if we are operating from their dimension. And so their whole agenda is to get us completely tuned in to their dimension only and to operate from their dimension. And today I'm going to spell out for you exactly what that is and how that works. Well, first let's talk about the fourfold reptilian conspiracy. We talked about this before, but very briefly, here's how it goes. The reptilian conspiracy starts with, first, number one, they want to destroy your divine human identity. The second level of the agenda is to prevent you from being able to protect yourself. And this will be very important because you see, if you don't have a strong aura, if you don't have a strong sense of self, this third dimension, which we're going to talk about today, this third part of the agenda is where the majority of people get stuck. The third part of the agenda is they want to keep you trapped in fear. Because if they can keep you trapped in fear, that's the vibration of their realm. That's the vibration of their dimension. That's fear brings you right into the vibration of them, and then they can influence you. They still have to get you to concede and be a part of it, and this happens on an unconscious level. We'll explain that. But when that happens and you're trapped in fear, then you're trapped in one part of your brain which is called the amygdala. And we're going to talk about exactly how they get to the amygdala and how they get to you. I'm also going to tell you exactly what the human's relationship to the reptilians are, because we have a relationship. We have an ancient relationship going back to the dawn of the human race. The fourth aspect of their agenda is to keep you from achieving complete enlightenment. But if they can get you, and this is where they get most people, they get you at number 3, which is to keep you trapped in fear, they never have to worry about number 4. So, today I'm going to talk to you about exactly how that happens, and the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to read some excerpts from the book The Way of the Shaman by Michael Harner. So feel free to get that book. It's very enlightening. It helps you understand how shamans have always been able to receive information from the divine and then be able to translate it in real terms for human beings. So that's going to be what I'm going to try to do here for you today. So this is from the first chapter of his book, and if you don't know anything about him, he was an atheist or an agnostic, I'm not sure which. He was an anthropologist, and he was down in South America studying the Aboriginal tribes, the native tribes in South America. And so he took some ayahuasca under the guidance of a master shaman. Very important. If you're ever going to do that, you have to make sure you have the guidance of a master shaman. Otherwise, you'll see why. You can get yourself in some serious trouble. So I'm just going to go ahead and read to you the most salient parts about the reptilians, their realm, and how they became connected to us, how they control us and influence us. So, all right, so let's see here. Now, he's just entered into an altered state of consciousness, and here we go. As my eyes seemed to adjust to the gloom, the moving scene resolved itself into something resembling a huge funhouse, a supernatural carnival of demons. In the center, presiding over the activities and looking directly at me, was a gigantic, grinning crocodilian head, from whose cavernous jaws gushed a torrential flood of water. Slowly the waters rose, and so did the canopy above them, until the scene was metamorphosed into a complete duality of blue sky above and sea below. All creatures had vanished. Later on he says, I became aware of my brain. I felt physically that it had become compartmentalized into 4 separate and distinct levels. At the uppermost surface was the observer and commander, which was conscious of the condition of my body and was responsible for the attempt to keep my heart going. It perceived, but purely as a spectator, the visions emanating from what seemed to be the nether portions of my brain.
Alright guys, I'm in my super sick car and I'm at my super sick mansion, and then, oh wait, I'm in an alley in Pittsburgh getting out of...
Immediately below the topmost level, I felt a numbed layer, which seemed to have been put out of commission by the drug. It just wasn't there. Now I was virtually certain I was about to die. As I tried to accept my fate, an even lower portion of my brain began to transmit more visions and information. I was told that this new material was being presented to me because I was dying and therefore safe to receive these revelations. These were the secrets reserved for the dying and the dead, I was informed. I could only very dimly perceive the givers of these thoughts. Giant reptilian creatures reposing sluggishly at the lowermost depths of the back of my brain where it met the top of the spinal column. I could only vaguely see them in what seemed to be gloomy dark depths. Then they projected a visual scene in front of me. First they showed me the planet Earth as it was eons ago, before there was any life on it. I saw an ocean, barren land, and a bright blue sky. Then black specks dropped from the sky by the hundreds and landed in front of me on the barren landscape.